Well, I guess you're good sitting where you are. We don't have to have you come any closer. I want to welcome you out. My name is Brock Cherry. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Mountain Home. This is Richard Akey. He's the Public Works Director. We are the assigned city project leads for the Master Transportation Plan update. All of you are here because in one aspect or another, when it concerns transportation, you have valuable expertise that we want to seek after. When we bring this Master Transportation Plan to City Council, this is the plan we're going to base all of our capital improvement plans off of. This is what we're going to base our plan off of, future transportation improvements off of, our budgets, everything. It's important to our City Council members, and we're lucky to have Councilman Brennan here and also Councilman Green, that when we get to that point, that there's already substantial buy-in, and we make their job as easy as possible by showing them that we went out to the public, we've spoken to our partners, we believe we have a suitable product which is in the best interest of the residents of the City of Mountain Home. So, before we kick off real quick, just so kind of everyone has an idea of who everyone is, let's just introduce ourselves. We'll start with you, Councilman Green, and kind of wrap around.
Okay. Councilman James Green.
Paula Safransky, City Treasurer.
Daniel Brennan, City Council.
Richard Akey, Director of Public Works.
James Gilbert with Mountain Home School District.
Scott Harjo, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Karen Chandler, I'm listed as citizen and cyclist.
That's pretty cool. This is the host.
Daniel Pomelee, I'm part of the Traffic Safety Committee.
Josh Martinez, work for the city.
Bill Hyden, St. Luke's Elmore.
Lou Listen, Mountain Home Highway District.
G. Palmer, City of Mount Hunter Street.
I'm Chris Curtis. I'm the assistant planner. I'll be right back.
All right. So, just so everyone knows, concerning this process, if you ever have any questions, any confusions, if you're angry about something, if there's something you don't want to say in front of everyone else, you can call me and Rich. We will be your confidants. But we are the ones who are tasked to get this across the finish line, and your feedback is invaluable. So remember, if there's anything pressing, me and Richard Akey, we are your guys. So, you are here because I told the City Council that you would be here. In our RFQ, we said the City Master Transportation Plan Update Committee will be a temporary advisory committee made up of representatives from the City of Mountain Home, Elmore County, the Idaho Transportation Department, Mountain Home Highway District, Mountain Home School District, and other pertinent groups or entities. Your purpose is to help provide direction and feedback regarding the Master Transportation Plan as a whole and regarding your specific areas of expertise. Right now, our current 2009 Master Transportation Plan, it is solely vehicle focused about moving cars and about what does that look like when we do capital improvements. We know that transportation is much more than that. And we are going to kind of go through that. But basically, we assembled you all, which is a great committee, and I know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you being here. There may be opportunities where I come and speak to you guys one-on-one about what are your thoughts, what are you thinking. I know collectively sometimes it's hard to get all the information we need. But my goal is, as far as our future meetings, they will be fairly limited. I could imagine more than 2 or 1 a month. Our plan is to finish this in October. And then there may be times where me and Chris or me and Rich that we come to you and we get your feedback as well. So the 2009 City of Mountain Home Master Transportation Plan stated that its purpose was to help the City of Mountain Home and other agencies prioritize construction projects over the next 20 to 25 years. The plan is comprehensive. It assembles relevant data, assesses existing and future transportation development needs, and recommends the prioritization of improvements. We sent you out our RFQ, which had our existing plan on it. And it's not a terrible plan. JUB did a good job. But the plan has shortcomings. It has shortcomings in that we don't talk about, I guess kind of briefly it talks about it, but not too in depth, about alternative transportation, bike pathways, how we're going to get kids to school, the elderly, the handicapped, people who don't own a car, how we're prioritizing their needs. Mountain Home, the Mountain Home Rail Industrial Park, that's the meeting that was still going on as you guys came in. There's concerns about our truck routes and commercial traffic, and how do we make it so that people want to be here and that we're able to facilitate those needs. We have an airport. What does that mean as far as transportation? There's a lot of hidden questions there. There's also Mountain Home's growing. We know that as Mountain Home grows, there may be certain roadways that we plan on taking over, which are currently maintained by our other partners at the Mountain Home Highway District. What does that look like? Expectations of maintenance, form, all of that. We want your feedback, and we want you to be part of the conversation. Next. So when me and Rich came together, we knew we needed specialty analysis about all of the topics that I just mentioned. But more importantly, Mountain Home, we're experiencing a lot of applications for development to come in. And we use our zoning ordinance, we use our comprehensive plan a lot. But we noticed when it came to the master transportation plan that the document wasn't friendly for giving us immediate information about what we need to do for individual zoning applications. So what we said when we put our RFQ out, because we need a consultant, we need engineers, we need someone who specializes in transportation planning to assist us. We said we want this document to never be on the shelf. We plan on touching it once a day for everything we do, for every project that comes in. And we want it to be easy to understand, not only for us, but for the public, for planning and zoning commissioners, for city council. Anyone who wants to understand our goals, we want anyone to be understand it. 5th grade reading level, keep it easy. We want great images in it. And we want it to be a document that after I'm gone, that after Rich is gone, after anyone else is gone, someone can easily step in, understand what the mission is, and continue trucking on. But we decided that before we had all of you here. So one thing that we want to make sure of, and you can voice it today, we can email later, we can talk later, about what are those specific transportation topics that you would want to see from this plan, which would benefit your area of expertise. What specific things do we need to have in there, and should that plan call out? So I guess off the top of your heads, what are specific topics in the master transportation plan that you believe would pertain the most to you, that you want to see in there? Any must-haves?
I think, I'm a big believer of connectivity of parks and schools through bed-bike connections. And I think identification of those throughout the city and a plan that connects them all to downtown, I think would be really beneficial.
That's great.
On that, safe routes to school.
Safe routes to school.
I would say congestion near children crosswalks for schools. And getting across busy roads like Haskett we've talked about before.
I think that's perfect.
Air-based road.
And isn't there a small group of planners that are working right now that on some ped bike connections?
Yes, I believe there is isn't there a regional group who are working on like master pathways?
It's more connection for everything in the county, but I mean, not really for,
Okay.
we have some of those things we can use.
But making sure it speaks to that.
But we've all sat on,
Brock, I think like just school congestion areas and how that impacts flow throughout the day.
Who here thinks that kids should be able to walk to school? Bill Heitman will tell you, we need our kids to walk to school. Did you know kids in rural areas actually walk less than kids in their urban counterparts? The kids who live in the country? It doesn't make any sense. And I'll tell you, one of my biggest irks as a planner is when we build a new school and we have to have like a 50-car stacking drop-off. And we have all these. That would be nice if we emphasize that. That's excellent.
With St. Luke's, we need more public transportation for those needing rides from appointments, home from appointments, those types of things. As far as I know, I don't think we have like the Uber and Lyfts in town. So that's kind of a huge gap. We use the local taxi service, but we need more opportunities.
So extending upon that, I think I'm not sure if you heard, but Elaine Clegg is taking over Valley Regional Transportation. And I was at a planning event last night where she came up to me and she's like, I really want to come up to Elmore County and talk to you guys about extending the services in Elmore County, which is awesome opportunity for, in my opinion, because we have a lot of workforce that goes back and forth between here and Ada County, and even if there are a couple of buses throughout the day, that could be very valuable addition.
Yeah,
to
that's
us.
big with the VA and the senior center.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, definitely.
Good point.
Those are good things. What about as we grow for certain groups and entities to kind of understand what our expectations are, what our plan is as we take over roads? How could we better communicate with Mountain Home Highway District for when we annex these huge pieces of land and we all of a sudden just take a road, so they know for sure that what the expectation is? Would something like that help, Louis?
Sure. But I mean, Rich is pretty good on
This-
keeping us up on which roads that, you know, they're thinking about annexing or planning on.
Which is good. But maybe we can formalize something or formalize a process so that we know that when Rich leaves that we have smooth transitions from the city's end. That something isn't forgotten about. Because we have really great, in Mountain Home we're really lucky to have pillars of the community who are really great in their agencies. But we have so many that are about to retire and are about to leave. And sometimes during the shuffle, when a new person comes in and another person comes out, we lose valuable institutional knowledge, the relationships we once had, and sometimes we need to formalize those. The plan could speak to that in terms of transportation and the infrastructure that gets passed along and what expectations are. What else?
So I don't know if this is, would work with this, but as I was looking at the plan earlier, so communication, interagency with, like snow event days and that kind of thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what arteries are cleared first and that kind of thing, so.
I think that's pretty good. And that's not to say that's not stuff that we're doing now,
Right.
but there's always room for improvement. There's things that can be formalized, and I think communication in regards to transportation so people know what's going on is a component.
And labeling some of those priorities for the arterial aspects in the comp. I mean, like, as it applies to how we plan on growing our community through the comp plan, like, could we have known, you know, in the early 2000s that the communities on the south end of town were gonna explode like they were,
Mhm.
right? And we have, you know, a highly traveled arterial passageway, and that is really one of the only methods of getting in and out of that area. Like, how do we plan for that in growth going forward for the city, where we plan on growing and expanding these communities, you know, annexing aspects of, you know, territory that's not being utilized at the moment, and then identifying those as priorities for things like the school district, the highway department, and so on, and, you know, travelers coming in and out of town on work days, so on and so forth. Like, I think that can be captured in a document like that, pretty, you know, and projected pretty well.
And then, because I have the benefit of having our former Transportation Safety Committee members here, and specifically looking at Councilman Brennan and also Mr. Martinez over there, who serve in a position of public safety, what are we missing? What are things in your guys' experience in regards to transportation, roadways, sidewalks? What needs to be looked at that we perhaps should be looking at?
I see a lot of issues. I work nights right now, so it's dark in some places, and when we travel on some of these roads, it gets pretty dark. So, and just before I switched and was on days, kids coming to school on some of these main arteries, it's dark. I don't know if there's ways to make better lighting. I've just recently noticed that that's been a big issue. So as we develop these newer roads or update them, I think we need some better lighting too in those areas.
Visibility. There's a
Visibility.
lot of blind spots in a lot of areas in town that you have to literally pull your front bumper, you know, finger out to, and almost get hit trying to see around the corners.
I like that. So,
And
yes.
ADA compliance for our sidewalks, I think, might be another big.
Yep. And I want to give kudos to Rich Jean, our streets department. I know that's been something as we've been doing like our downtown project that we were hyper focused on was ADA compliance, and definitely pursuing that outside of our downtown core and other places and having a plan of how to approach that.
I think just the deficiencies, I think that's Gene and I, that's one of our safe routes to school. We wanted to make sure that we have, we paid for a lot of sidewalks on people's property because it was a safe route to school. And those are priorities that we have. I mean, our kids were our priorities to get around. So those are things that I think are important. So.
And another thing to do is we need to provide education to people, because a lot of people comes up to the signs and they don't push a button or nothing, and they expect people to see them when they don't have on light clothes when they're walking across the street. So just educating people, hey, if you're at a street and there's a sign push button to come across the street, use it so people that's driving the streets can actually see you.
But still make that eye contact with the driver. That's the biggest thing. You know, I think one thing, we have our cyclists back here, but I think, you know, one thing we really, when I was on the council starting off, and like we did 10th Street, when we redid that and had the bike lane put in that as much as we could in some of the places that we were trying to do, and just the sharrows, and you know, those things need to just be reminded that we're still using those things, and I think that it's important. There are a lot of cyclists. I see everybody, you know, I see people out all the time. So,
What are we doing wrong, Lance, when it comes to bikes?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah, Karen.
You know, you guys have all mentioned the different things, the lighting, it's hard to ride at night. And I know a lot of these are county roads and a lot of other stuff going on, but I know, you know, there's no shoulders anywhere, really. I was coming down Air Base Road coming home today, and there's a large shoulder there, but a lot of the roads like the Bypass Road and the Little Creek, and I know, again, those aren't mountain home, I don't think they're mountain home specific roads, but there's no shoulders on any of them.
and that was part of our conversation that we've had in some of our other meetings that I think that Mitchell was talking about. Those are on our radar, and especially when I think the documents we're trying to get put together are that, and this helps with all of our right-of-ways, so if as soon as a property gets bought and we know something's there, we got to make sure that right-of-way is taken care of in that, so that's put into that plan, and those are the things we just got to make sure that we have. So if somebody develops a big chunk of land that, hey, we need to have that 10-foot, you know, well, you want to have them off the shoulder and even farther, so those are things we got to make sure and that was what that plan was that we're talking about before. So those are things that are in it, but they need to be, you know, I think that one thing with this transportation plan or doing those things, those are some things that can move into some other parts around us and other places. So.
And maybe our pedestrian and bicyclist infrastructure needs to look different. We live in a rural community. We have an Air Force base. We have people with a diverse set of driving backgrounds. Maybe we need to invest in separated bikeways, separated pedestrian ways. When we look at the skill of the cyclist, you know, I want to be able to ride my bike downtown with my 5-year-old. Probably can't do that in a Sharrow with her. You know, and thinking about those skill levels. So we're just skimming the surface. My invitation is to all of you is to really think about those things that we should be thinking about that we overlook. To bring those thoughts here, to email me and Rich, to be ready. If me and Chris decide we want to do a one-on-one 15-minute kind of informational interview with you to really milk things out about how can we make this what it really needs to be. So does anyone have any last-minute thoughts on this? Any topics that are just sitting right on the top of your head that we should get out there?
Rob, I was going to add that I think our code enforcement team will play a critical role in the success of this, whether they're identifying issues like shrubs hiding stop signs or garbage cans on sidewalks.
Man.
And being really proactive. Nobody wants to be just totally governed by the man, but we do have to keep some of those things cleared for the safety of the people.
I like that.
So maybe they could come to these meetings, perhaps.
We're gonna write it down. We're gonna put it on the list.
They'll be here next time.
All right.
And I got one more thing from a cyclist.
Yeah.
When it's icy and snowy, the road crews are great. I mean, they're out there getting those roads cleared for the vehicles. But now the shoulders are covered with the remains of that. And so it makes it really difficult as a cyclist. I mean, I ride bigger tires in the winter because I know it's dangerous, but I'm not putting a 23 millimeter tire on that because I'm gonna go down. So I don't know what the process is. And so I'm new in town too, so if there's already things that are developed, then that's great. You can certainly hit me later on and tell me, but at what point do those get cleaned up by the road crews?
I think that's fair. You know, especially during the winter times, we have stretches of roadway where sometimes there's no sidewalk. And what's a pedestrian supposed to do? Those are great points. I think thinking about our road maintenance during every season and what it looks like when it's in different stages of being built out is important. So this is great. I promised this was going to be a short meeting, so we're going to keep on rolling. So I wanted you guys to know our timeline. So welcome to the kickoff meeting. We are kicking it off. The submission of the RFQ is due January 19th. Our immediate staff, we plan on reviewing those and also giving that access to you for you to give us feedback. I can tell you that the selection of who we go with, we're not going to call out for a vote at large at this body. We're going to seriously take your concerns and your recommendations. But we have a smaller group who will be working with this client on a frequent basis who is going to make that ultimate decision. But we want your feedback. We want to understand what you see as valuable and maybe invaluable with what is submitted. And we may only receive 3 or 2. So we'll see how much discretion we have. On February 23rd, we want to select our project consultant. When we select our project consultant, we're going to have to take that contract to the city council. We're going to have to tell them why we think this is a good idea. Where, obviously, if we follow your counsel and say, hey, not only did the immediate deciding group think this was a great idea, but everyone else, that probably helps our argument a little bit. So, but between the submission of the RFQs and the selection, our immediate staff, we have 2 goals. We want to send out a public information survey. Right now we're going over, because tons of people have done master transportation plans, multiple drafts of other surveys that people have done. What we're going to do is we're going to create a core draft. Then we're going to send it out to you guys about, are we missing questions? Are questions worded poorly? What else do we need? And then we're going to send that out to the community at large. We are also going to have one open house between them, where we're going to spend a day or 2. We're going to put it out to the community, say we're doing master transportation plan. What do you want to come and know? We'll have cookies, we'll have juice. We just want to make sure that we're giving everyone the option and the opportunity to participate in this. And we also want you all to be friendly ambassadors and let everyone know that we're doing a master transportation plan update. And if there are any concerns they have, to please reach out and be part of the conversation. Then, after selection of the consultant, we're going to have multiple meetings. I can tell you that we're going to send out a survey monkey to you all about what do those need to look like. What is your idea of frequency? What day should they be? What time? Just so we can best work with you. We know your time is precious. We want to make sure that whenever you guys participate, that you feel like your participation is valuable. And then what is very bold of us is we want to have the master transportation plan complete, not adopted, but complete and ready to go through the entitlement process to planning and zoning and city council by the end of September. Any questions about that timeline of what we're working with? And as I mentioned before, going until then, as far as meeting frequency, once, twice, at most a month, plus me and Chris are agile, me and Rich are agile, we can come to you. All right. So next steps, like I said, we're going to send out a survey sheet for you guys as far as best times to meet. Watch out for open house announcements and stuff. Share it with everyone. Watch out for the survey. Like I said, we're going to send you out a draft before we send it out. And let us know your thoughts, what we can add to it, what we can do to make it better. And know that the next time I believe we're going to formally meet is when we have those RFQs. We will send them out to you beforehand. We'll have another meeting for you to tell us your thoughts about what you see, what you like, what you dislike, and then we'll go from there. So that is it. And in closing, I want to inspire you all from the great Daniel Burnham. One of the first master planners. He did the first comprehensive plan for Chicago. I'm going to even use my Daniel Burnham voice. Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans. Aim high in hope and work, remembering that a noble logical diagram, once recorded, will never die, but long after we are gone will be a living thing, asserting itself with ever-growing insistency. Remember that our sons and grandsons are going to do things that would stagger us. Let your watchword be order and your beacon beauty. Think big. Okay. Thank you. Have a good night. If you have any questions, I'm here to sit on by and make sure that you sign the signing sheet.
I think
All right.
on it, but
Yeah, no, I apologize.
no, you're good.
Yes.
I'm sorry it's tough.
Actually, I never got one time.
Is that one that we're probably going to take the end of February? And then keep it going during spring?